Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I have something a little bit different for you. It is an interview with the amazing Jason Hunter, otherwise known as Fuji Hunter on Instagram. If you haven't come across his profile, I definitely recommend checking it out. He also has a website and a very cool Substack newsletter too. I really enjoy his minimalist, clean aesthetic, and I really enjoy his attitude towards photography as well and his commitment to keeping photography accessible. In today's interview, we cover quite a few different topics, including some rules that Jason uses when he's out in the field photographing, which I found extremely helpful. We touch on a little bit of gear as well as zine and project ideas, how to approach them, tackle them, and some of the frustrations that we encounter with those things. We touch on everyone's favorite topic of social media and how to still create for yourself, but also grow an audience around your work, which Jason has managed to do very, very well. We get into a little bit of the state of the photography community and how that has evolved over time. And we also discuss music as inspiration, which I found really interesting. And we go over some things like photography for your mental health, which is a topic I covered recently here on the channel, and it had a really great response. So I highly recommend sticking around to the end. There's a lot of gold in this chat. In my YouTube video, when I spoke about you, I said, how do you say where you're from? Chesapeake, is that right?
Yeah, Chesapeake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was, for some reason, I thought it was like a small town, I guess, maybe from your photographs, because there's no people.
I saw the guy's comment.
Yes.
And he was like, oh, it's like one of the biggest.
Yeah.
Well, it's like weird because like like in Virginia, there's Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake, Suffolk, all these little cities. And
Yeah.
like not really cities, but little towns. If you put them all together, it would be the largest city in America.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
But they split it up into like little sections. The mine is like between everything. So there's nothing here but people. So it's all like strip malls,
Okay.
houses, and then people live in the cities or like the beach.
Okay. All right. So,
So that's kind of how like
yeah.
my area is. It's very boring. There's like nothing here. So
but you make it look so good though.
I don't know about all that. I appreciate it. I try. But it's just I don't know. I guess we'll talk about that and stuff, but I just make myself rules. I have like little rules that I have in place, and that like keeps me on track.
Yeah, nice. I'm excited to hear about them. Well, we'll get stuck in because I'm already recording just because I always worry that I'm going to forget to do that. But I'd love to start off with your kind of like, we've done like the where you are, but yeah, who you are, what you do, and kind of a little bit of your background in terms of photography, like how you got started with photography.
So I got into photography about maybe now I'm old now. It's probably like 15, 16 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And I've always been really techie and nerdy. So I've always like gadgets and video games and stuff like that. So that's where kind of like photography came in because I looked at cameras as more of a gadget than like a tool. So over time, that kind of changed. And I joined the Navy in 2009. And I started going all over the world. Like I've been to Australia. I've been to Perth.
Oh wow, that's where I was born. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that's the only place in Australia I've been.
Yeah.
Very lovely. It was awesome. It was nice. It was like America Light. It was very cool though.
Yeah, it's very remote there. Like it's like you're pretty isolated in Perth compared to like the rest of Australia, or even more so than the rest of Australia. But yeah, I remember there was when I was a kid, I was born in Fremantle, and there was there was always a lot of like Navy, like Army bases there and stuff like that. And they'd all be in like I'd go to the pub with my dad, like he'd, take me in, and they'd all be like coming in. I remember that from bit when I was little. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
You went there. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's where we pulled into. And it's kind of like Perth's kind of like a cove, isn't it? Because I remember like walking around and there's like a park that's kind of up on the city.
Yeah.
You kind of see the city across the water.
Yep.
So we were all in that little area.
Nice.
Small
world. Yeah.
It is very, very small world. And I took like the world's worst camera. I brought like this like little Sony. It was like one of the really skinny ones that like that folded down.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what I brought with me. So when I got back from my first deployment, I was like, I really need like a nicer camera. So I got a Nikon D like 5700 or something like that, along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And got a 35 millimeter lens, f1.8, which was like a 50. And I just used that for quite a while. And then like my wife's friend asked me if I could photograph her wedding. And I was like, oh yeah, of course. I am truly a professional now. I have like a big boy camera. So of course that would be no problem at all. So I did that. I really liked it. And I instantly went out and bought like a 5D Mark III, L glass, all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Down the rabbit
Total,
hole.
total waste of money. Because I kept that for a while and then I went to Olympus and I was like a really huge Micro Four Thirds fanboy.
Mm-hmm.
Like the smaller I could get my camera bag, the better.
Yep.
And then that just kind of got me back into shooting film. So I shot film for a long time, probably like 10 years or so.
Yep.
Up until about 2020, I bought my Fuji when the X-T4 came out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've been just pretty much the X-T4 and the 35 millimeter lens has probably been 99% of my photos since then.
Yeah, that's like your setup. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I think I'm just perfectly happy and content with the 50 millimeter, the focal length. I think that just like really, it's like tight enough to where I don't have to worry about everything, but also wide enough where I can kind of get what I want.
Yeah, for sure. I find that's a really good focal length as well, like a good all-rounder kind of sweet spot to have. It's definitely something I recommend to people when they're like kind of getting started, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, you do great work with the X-T4. We have a Fujifilm X-T4 as well, but it's kind of reserved for videoing just because it's all set up to do so. So it kind of ends up staying like that. But I do wish that we would use it more for photos. But
it's great. It's I thought about selling it and I had it for sale and then somebody offered me money and I backed out. I'm like, I can't do it. I'm like, I can't. Because I don't know what I would I would just get an X-T5 and I don't think it's really worth it, because I don't my stuff is not very it's not, I don't need nothing crazy.
Yeah,
I do.
I was gonna say like you're quite sort of similar to me, and like your images are quite like flat and one dimensional in the look of them. I mean, as in like you're not like getting all this crazy bokeh. Like me, I'm often shooting at like f16 or something, and I just kind of want everything in focus, and I have like this look I'm going for. So that's kind of good because it cancels out any need to get all these upgrades or these like crazy lenses or anything. So yeah, I think that was one of my questions was, do you feel kind of like do you feel the urge to upgrade to like an X-T5 or when there's something new being released? But it sounds like you're pretty happy with what you've got.
Yeah, because I thought I missed the Canon 5D Mark III for a while. So Canon, they were cool and they sent me a Canon Mark D like 4 or 5, 4. I think whatever the last one was. I think it was a 4. And the 51.2 lens. And I had it for like 2 days. I'm like, I don't like this. I'm sending it back. And they're like, no, we'll send you like a R5. We'll send you like whatever you want. Just take it.
Yeah.
And just borrow it. And it's like, come over on this side.
Come over to the Canon side.
Come over to the Canon side. Canon Hunter has a nice ring to it, I guess.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, thank you. I was like, I politely turned that down. Because I'm pretty happy with that. And I shoot a lot of I think it comes from like shooting a lot of film. And I was used to not using a light meter and just using like Sunny 16. And that's just kind of like what I like. Unless I'm shooting cars or something like that. You can always tell when I'm in like a rut or I'm bored because you'll see like me starting to shoot a lot of cars. Because it's a lot easier. Sometimes I don't even get out of my truck. I just kind of like put my head out and
lean out the window. Yeah. It is like shooting fish in a barrel with cars sometimes, like because it's done kind of for you. Yeah.
And there's like across the street from my house, like across the side, there's a guy or girl, whoever, they have like 10 classic cars in their driveways at all times.
Oh wow.
So if you look at my like feed, like a couple of days ago, I took a picture. I think it was a Thunderbird or whatever it was. But they have like 10. And like one day I'm gonna get the courage to be like a Brian Burks or something and knock on their door and be like, can I shoot your cars? But I'm so scared because he came out and he was like waving at me and I was like, nope.
Gonna drive away. I know. Yeah.
I don't want to talk to nobody.
Yeah, it's really it's nerve-wracking. I always think that. I think of Brian Burks. Like I'm like, I want to take this to the next level and like talk to the person. Like he's so confident and like he gets
Yeah.
so like involved, and then he like, you know, takes their portrait and just takes it to like a whole nother level. His work's really, really cool. But yeah, classic cars is my like fallback. I just went to like a big car festival here where I live.
Oh,
Like it's like over a weekend, and they have like rock and roll dancing and everyone dresses up. So like everyone looks really nice. And then there's all these cars, and it's really good because, you know, sometimes when there's a classic car parked, there's like a new Toyota, you know, Corolla next
right.
to it or something.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that really ruins it. And then you've got to change your angle. So you miss that out because you don't want
Yeah.
it to. And like with this, they were all lined up, and then everyone was dressed up. So it really did look like that time, which was just
Yeah.
awesome. So I'm excited to get those shots back. But yeah, it was too
Awesome.
easy. Like I took like
Yeah.
over 100 photos, I think, because it was too easy.
Yeah. It's sometimes it's like that. That's like one of my rules. Like I have like a set of rules that I stick by. No people.
Okay, yes, yep.
If there's a classic car, there's no other cars in there that are like of not the same age.
Yep.
That way there's no like juxtaposition or whatever
Yep.
on that. If I shoot a corner, they're all the same way. If you think of a block and 9 blocks, the tip is at the top 2 corners of that, and then that way they all line up.
Yep.
I have all these like real little like
Wow.
OCD
Yeah.
like little rules and stuff. So because I don't know, I have like my if you notice now, I talk in like they joke me at work because I talk in like a star pattern, and they're like he'll get there eventually. Just like let him like
Let him go
let him
through
go.
his like points of the star.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I was in the Navy, of course, but I got out and I got my master's degree in healthcare administration.
Okay.
So I manage a doctor's office. That's like my full time job now.
Okay. Oh wow.
So I have like 37-ish employees or something like that. 3 doctors, 2 nurse practitioners, 2 physician assistants, and then like a whole staff that goes in town with that. So anytime some new news comes out, I like run out there to tell somebody, and they're like, what's happening now? Like what's changing? And I'm like, just hang on, let me get to it. Like, because we did this and then this is gonna change that, and this is where we're gonna be.
Yeah.
So
that's how
I don't
you
know.
that's how you talk. Yeah. I'm kind of like that a little bit as well. I think where my partner's
Yeah.
he's like, what's the, and I'm like, no, you've got to let me do the whole story. Like if it's
Yes.
a recount
Yeah.
of something that's happened, I'm like, no, I've got to do it this way, and then we'll get there, because otherwise it won't be like as impactful. So that's funny.
Yep.
So continuing on with like, yeah, like some of the rules that you've shared, which I find really interesting, and that's probably why your style is so like cohesive and like distinct. Like I feel like anytime anything pops up on Instagram, I just know instantly that it's yours. And I think that's something that photographers really really want, you know, like we're really all kind of striving for that. So could you talk a little bit more about the journey of your style? Because sometimes you stumble across these, you know, like your page, and it's like, oh wow, this guy's got this like awesome style and it's all dialed in, but I'm sure it wasn't always that way. And it's easy on social media for it to seem that way, you know?
Yeah. 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 Because that's definitely by design. Like, you know, I just recently deleted everything.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
Yeah.
now I'm like, I think I love it, just a fresh start. And just having like a blank canvas to like just start sharing over and over again. Because I found like I've been living here like my whole life for the most part in the same area. So I've shot the same Regal Theater, the same AutoZone, the same buildings over and over again. Like it's like always the same. Like I'm shooting the same things over and over again. And of those, I might take 10 photos, and like 2 of them might be what I like. So I'm like, it's like I have a whole batch of photos, and I'm just constantly like plucking some out and like popping some in. So I have like a constant set, and that's why I think like I've never been able to like really focus and make like a book or something like that. Every time I make a zine, it like I get somewhere like really close, and then like I'll start doing something else, and then I just do the whole body of work out the window.
Yeah.
So I think well I have like 4 photos that I take everywhere I go. I'll start with, if it's a corner of the building this way, like long ways, I'll take it this long ways. I'll get up tighter and make the actual corner photo. I'll take a photo that's flat, and then I'll try to find some details. So I work everywhere I go kind of the same way.
Yeah.
And I edit all the photos the same. And when I was shooting film, it was easy because I just shot a lot of portrait. I didn't really like shoot anything like that. I don't really dabble in like every once in a while I'll get like a black and white photo kick or something like that. But most of my stuff's all color. So I think that it just kind of like it makes it easier. And then I
Totally.
use the same lens and the same camera. And then I think that all just leads to it. So when you're like shooting a lot with like a 28 millimeter, and the next thing you get like 85, or you're shooting black and white, and then this, you'll start to kind of get your own thing. And even though I've tried like street photography and architecture and wedding photography and portraits and so on and so on, because I've dabbled, I try to do everything. I just found myself, this is like my hobby, and what I like the most is just kind of riding around and finding whatever catches my eye. And normally that's how it is. I can't like walk somewhere here. I have to drive. So
Okay.
mainly I just get a cup of coffee at like 6 in the morning, right around to like 8, 9. And then I just come home with I come home with. This morning I had 4 photos. I took 4 photos on the way to get my truck washed. And that was it.
Yeah.
No, and that's fine.
Yeah. That's really it's really interesting how you say where you have like photos, specific photos that you take when you like the shots that you take. It's kind of like a shot list. Like,
Yeah.
like we storyboard for our YouTube videos sometimes because we're like, okay, we need to get B-roll for this and that, and we've been storyboarding lately and it makes it a lot easier. But I do find I'm like, okay, well, we want like, this kind of static shot, this like action shot, like this a bit close up, this further away kind of thing. And that's sort of reminding me of like what you're saying. So I think it's a really interesting way to work, and it's very simple and it makes sense. And I think sometimes those are the best things, like keeping it simple, and like you say, not bouncing around too much. If you want, like obviously you can do that if you
Yeah.
want to, but
Of
if you
course.
want
Of
to really
course.
find the style, like I do like one-to-one sessions with people, and a lot of the time when they're talking about finding a style, the reason they're struggling is because, like you say, they're, especially with film, they're using like all these different film stocks. So then like
Mhm.
like you're using expired film, then you're using black and white film, and then you're using, like Portra, and then something else over here. And it's like this whole body of work that looks completely different. And I think, yeah, if you're
Right.
wanting to find your style, just picking like one film stock, or like you say, one camera, one focal length, and then you can kind of like go from there, or at least sort of pick out the patterns that are coming up in your work and be like, I really like
Yeah.
that. I'm going to do more of that. So yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
a good
Well,
blueprint.
yeah. Well, I'm old, so that helps too. Because I'm 30. I'm 37.
Okay.
So like, and then when I talk to most people on the internet, there's like a few people in my age room, and I'm them like some like 50-year-old man or something like that. Not 50's not old, but like I think that I've just been doing it a while, and with time just comes like the time you need to experience everything and try different things. And I think all that was important. Like I didn't even know what I wanted to be until I was like 35 and quit the Navy and went back to school.
Yep.
And the same thing with photography. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I
Yep.
was shooting. Like I was going to downtown Norfolk where there's like 10 people walking down the street, and I'm trying to get in their face because I wanted to
Yeah.
be a street
You want it to
photographer.
be the,
Uh, yeah,
yeah.
and that's not possible. So you just kind of look at the tools that you got and then what's around you, and you just try to make what you can do out of it. Because I mean, I think for me personally, I think that I take a harder route with my photography than I need to, because I could always just go down to the ocean front at the beach
Mm-hmm.
and take beach photos all day. I could go,
Yeah. Yep.
it's 6 now, sun's setting in like 2 hours. By the time we get off, I could hop in the truck and just drive down to the beach. And then that would be like easy mode, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like. And nothing's wrong with that. But for me, I think I have to keep it as simple as possible and easy as possible. And for me, it's a lot easier just to stay around here and just I don't use a camera bag or a camera strap or anything like that. Because I think the more I just know myself now, like the harder it is for me, the more like barriers to entry there is for me. I'm not gonna do it. Like every
Totally.
time I go to put a book together, and it's like I got to start thinking about shipping and all this. I'm like, oh,
Mm.
I'm not gonna do this.
Yeah.
Like
It gets so
here's my
overwhelming. Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, here's my photos in a folder. Just like download them yourself, and like
Yeah. That was
just
great when you did that. That
yeah.
was very
I
cool.
I
Yeah.
well, I don't. I think everybody wants something different out of what they create. Some people want to create for a living.
Mm-hmm.
Some people want to create for a hobby, or because they have a passion or an idea that won't go away. And I just do it just to have some time with myself.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking for something out of it. Um, and the best compliment I'll ever get is like somebody's like, "Oh, I printed your photo and hung it in my house." Like that's worth way more than $20 to me, you know.
Totally. Yeah, for
So
sure.
it's a cool feeling, you know, when somebody's like, "Oh, I
Definitely.
like that. I like that enough to like print it out myself and hang it."
Oh my
Like that's
God.
like a
There's no
that's cool.
feeling. Yeah. There's no feeling. I say this in like videos that I do about like, yeah, printing your work or how to sort of start like selling your prints. And that is just like hands down the best feeling. I mean, I'm not like a huge YouTuber, but like, um, some of my videos have had, 50K views or whatever, and that's like a stadium of people, and that just
Yes.
doesn't feel as good as like one person buying a print and then like sending you a photo when they get it and they're like, oh my God, where like I have this in my home. Like it is truly like the best feeling for sure.
Yeah.
It's very, very cool. I'm interested to know a little bit more about like projects for you. Like you've sort of talked a little bit about trying to make a zine and then kind of like scrapping it and feeling like a little bit frustrated. And I know you've spoken about it in your Substack newsletter before. And I also have a lot of trouble. I've never put a zine out, and I've literally started like probably 10 or more ideas for them
Yeah.
and then started making them and then either lost interest, second guessed myself, got overwhelmed by, like you say, like the logistics of it, got
Right.
frustrated with like the program I'm using, or just like made excuses that like I don't have time or whatever, and sort of talked myself out of it. So I find that really, yeah, like when people just like, I have a friend here in Australia called Matt, and he runs like Matt Loves Cameras, and he just puts out zines. He'll be like, oh, I think I'm going to do a zine of this. And then 2 days later, he'll have put it together, got it all printed. And like, I'm just like, oh my God, I don't know how you do that. So yeah, it
Right.
sounds like we're
Right.
sort of similar in our,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how do you work through that? Or like you've made some zines before that you've sort of shared saying you weren't totally happy with the end
Right.
product. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think for the time, everything once you put something on print, it has this like time and space. It's like this is when you made this is who you are when you made it, what you were
Mm-hmm.
feeling, what was going on around you, things like that. So now that I'm like kind of cognizant of that, like when I put something out and print it and sell it or do whatever I'm gonna do with it, that's like it. Like there's no going back and like, oh, let me take that one photo out that I didn't really like or something like
Yeah.
that. And I think that like I'm just so OCD about like things, and like I get like caught up in my own head and I'm like, this isn't like that good. Or I started shooting all squares, and then like I took two photos that where I had cropped a square but looked better regular. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
whoop, no more squares. Like I'm never shooting a square again. Like that was it. Like so like something like that happened. And
mm,
I have like three or four zines that are made. They're like on like live on my computer.
mm,
Um and I have a friend of mine who's making something cool where you could have like digital zines on your phone and like have like a little library of them. So can't say too much about that, but like that's something that he's working on and I'm like trying to help him with. So I
mm-hmm.
think that'd be easier to just share and stuff like that. And it won't be the same as print, of course, but on your iPad, just kind of flipping through things would be cool. Um, and as far as project goes, I have to like I had to be working on something constantly. Like if I can't have like a quiet moment in my life, I feel like. So like if I have like a moment to myself, it's got to be filled with something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and whether that's like playing video games, it's just fun and
Yeah.
just
Yep.
hanging around, lounging, or
Yep.
photography or Substack or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had the website going. I like really loved doing the 2 hour photo website. I thought that was like the best because like I thought I really like doing like the feature accounts, and what I like is sharing photos. But then like I don't know, there's like a whole stigma behind feature accounts and sharing people's photos and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
And then oftentimes, well, I've just noticed that like I was getting kind of like the like not a reputation or whatever, but like people would perceive it as for the wrong reasons. Like they were thinking I was doing it just for myself.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Yep.
that's not what it is. So I felt like maybe a website was a better way to show what I wanted to do and have it like add more context than just a photo from whoever.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you can put some words and some stories in there. Um, but I also want to like say what I have to say. So I found that Substack's been like the best thing for me here lately because there's no pressure, there's no financial pressure of like keeping a website going with Squarespace or something.
Yeah.
and you can write what you want. People are totally fine with one a month. Like that's all I do is one a month, and it's just been a steady increase, and that's been great. A lot of it came from like when you like shouted me out on your Substack, which was awesome,
That's
and I liked
awesome.
your I liked your and like Wesley's and yours.
Yeah. Wesley's is
There's a few
great.
that I like. I
Mm.
love it. Like on my iPad at night, just scrolling through,
Yeah,
and
it's
like
so good.
I read a couple years like over again. It's just nice to have something because I like if you go to a website now, there's no really website for what you're doing with your Substack
Mm.
or Wesley's or anything like that. You can't really go somewhere and find that. And they have like Petapixel and stuff like that, but I don't know. I'm
It's
not
not,
really into them.
no, no,
It's just
it's
not the
not. And then
same.
what happens is as well, like people, which is totally fine because I understand if you're doing it, like someone like Cosmo Photo or, I mean, I don't really
Yeah,
read f stoppers anymore, or like that much, but that there's a lot of like ads and it feels very interrupted
it's
and
hard.
it's really hard. Like it really kind of, and then you go into that zone where you're not really paying attention, which is kind of like Instagram where it's like that, just scroll, but nothing's really kind of going in. So Substack's like my little corner of the internet that feels like nourishing and safe and just
Yeah,
like I feel like in the morning, like I don't feel bad being on my phone in the morning because I'll like go to my emails and I'm like, cool, like Catherine Coleman's put out a newsletter or Wesley or you or like Matt or any of my other friends, or like I follow a lot of other stuff, a lot of cooking, like, recipe sharing ones too. Like there's just something for everyone on there. And it's, yeah,
yeah,
it's so easy to use. Like it's just, yeah, it's such a cool platform. So yeah, it's cool that you're on there.
yeah. I love it. And like you said, like it's like trying like I don't know if you ever noticed this or anything like that, but like if you start camera shopping, right? You go to YouTube, you type in whatever model camera you're looking for, and depending on what you're looking for and who's reviewing the camera, you might think that the camera is the worst thing you've seen because it might be totally different your style because it's not really it's a tool and everybody is going to take different pictures and stuff like that. And it's kind of like what it is when you go to like these like websites.
Mm.
It's like I don't really like the photos that I'm looking at because it's not what I'm like interested in. So
Mm-hmm.
it's better to find like personalities and like attach yourself to personalities because I know that I like your work personally and
Mm-hmm.
I like to see more of that. So now I have like a place to go see that versus like
Yeah.
going to see some like website that happens to be like one of only five whose photographers I don't really like.
Mm.
You know, I'm
Yeah.
not shooting like studio with like the
Yeah.
highest resolution cameras. Like that's not really like
It's not
what I'm.
relatable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not into that.
And you're not into
And
that. Yeah.
yeah, well, have you noticed? I don't know if you noticed this or not, but I feel like I know I might be totally off base, but like I feel like a lot of the Fuji photographers that came from film shoot the same things. And I think that's why a lot of people in film like Fuji cameras.
Yep.
It's not that the camera did
Mm-hmm.
whatever, or the colors are a certain way. It's
Yep.
just that
It's
people
the
just happen to
way
shoot the same
shoot
things.
the same kind of scenes and things
Yeah.
and like the editing or like the simulation or just like the approach to the way they're shooting. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, I often find like I'll really like a photographer and I'll be like sending it to my partner, like on Instagram. I'll be like, this is awesome. And then not that I care if it's film or digital, but like I think
Right.
people would assume that I would be really gravitating towards film work because, that's all I shoot really.
Mhm.
But a lot of the time it is like a Fuji shooter. Like I'm like, it tends to be that way. That's what I really gravitate towards and like. And I think that's, yeah, definitely you're on the money there with that observation, Jason, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, film's just gotten like crazy expensive
Yeah.
lately.
Yeah. So you
So
don't
and
shoot
cameras are expensive.
any film anymore? Like you said, 2020 you stopped?
Uh, I have like I've got two rolls that I've shot that are just sitting in a drawer, and I have my RB67. That was like
Mm.
a camera my dad gave me before he passed away.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so I have that, and like I'll never sell that. So I think that, and I think I got like a little point and shoot, something else, nothing really major. And I have
Mhm.
like a fridge full of film still,
Yeah.
or a fridge full of film
It's a
still.
bit of a
Uh,
mouthful.
yeah. So and I don't know my I don't know. It's like I feel like if I'm gonna shoot it now, it like has to be worth it.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
just waiting for this like perfect
Yeah.
day and like open the door up and it's like Snow White and there's like birds coming down and I just hold my hands up and like a bird lands on my head and he's like whistling in my ear and I got my RB67 and it's
All
just
the
like
stars are
Portia.
aligned, and you're like,
Yeah,
this song
yeah,
plays.
yeah. It's not like that.
No,
It's not like that.
no, it's not like that. No, yeah,
No.
I feel you. I feel
Yeah.
like I feel the same where I can't I mean not can't because like I do it anyway, but my justification is like I need, I'm making a video or I'm doing something and that's
Hmm.
why I'm shooting this role. So it feels more, everything kind of feels like a project. And then I've been shooting it
Yeah.
for work, which has been really good because I've been shooting a lot of film, but I don't feel bad because it's like it's my job. So like,
Yeah.
I have to, which is obviously great. But yeah, it is getting ridiculous. So I think it's really good to see what other people are doing outside of that because
Mhm.
I think it's not accessible to a lot of people anymore. And I really
Right.
wanted like a big thing for me is like keeping photography really accessible, whatever medium it is.
Yeah.
And that's why I started my channel because I wanted it to be, there was a lot of channels I saw and I was like, not a lot of these are relatable to me, or what I want to hear and stuff. So I really wanted to try and nurture like beginners or, people who aren't super tech. And yeah, I do worry
Yeah.
sometimes with film because it is something that's not super accessible, which is why I try and show people like the digicam thing because I think that's a really good kind of middle ground
Yeah.
or fun thing to try that sort of has that similar vibe and that. So yeah.
Yeah. I think if I was gonna go back to shooting only film again, I think the only was like sustainable way for me to like really get back in it. And I have thought about this before, like it's on my mind. It's just bulk rolling my own Ilford film,
Mm-hmm.
getting like a Nikon FE with like the little 50 1.8E, like the little cheaper lens, same
Yeah,
glass
yeah.
as like the more expensive one, but like that little setup, and then
Mm-hmm.
just developing everything at home, scanning it at home. I
Mm-hmm.
think that would be like the most cost effective way.
Yep.
Um, but I like color,
Yeah.
so I don't know what to do with that. Uh,
Yeah,
so
I'm a big color person too.
me
Like I
too.
rarely shoot black and white because I feel like every time I go out and shoot black and white, I just see the most amazing. I saw all this like spilt like
You ain't
yellow
lying.
paint like when I
Yeah,
last time I shot black and white and I only had that and I was like, oh my God, like this would be such a banger. I was so
yeah,
annoyed. But yeah, I think that's probably yeah, like the most cost effective way to do it. But then you gotta have the time to do that as well. Like the
yeah,
time investment of doing all of that is quite a lot too. So yeah, but talking more about keeping photography accessible, like I feel like you are super transparent with your process and like I just see you always like in the comments replying to people because a lot of people ask you about like your settings or what you recommend and you're always really forthcoming with like any kind of information and advice and then you do a lot of
yeah,
questions on your stories and I just feel like I don't feel intimidated by you or like I feel like I could just ask you a question in the DM. Same with Wesley. Like he always responds and he's super
Mhm.
helpful and it's just so good to
He's
see.
amazing.
Yeah, it's so good to see
Yeah,
people like that because sometimes photography, especially when I know it doesn't matter and it's just a vanity metric, but when you see someone who's like got a lot of followers or they've got this really cool style, sometimes it can be a little bit like, oh, I like, will they reply or like, should I bother them kind of thing. And yeah, both of
yeah.
you are like super, super nice and like, yeah, keeping things really accessible. So is that something that's really like important to you?
Yeah, it was the time before, especially before I got my like the job I'm working now. I started in like November. And it was like a real step up for me, and like I have a
Mm-hmm.
lot to manage. I'm always on call, and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
So I
Yep.
don't have as much time as I did beforehand
Mm-hmm.
because I was like going to school. I didn't like the job I had with the hospital, because I was working at a children's hospital for them.
Okay.
Uh,
Yep.
it was like no, it wasn't like sad.
Okay. Sorry. I just don't.
It was like their kids are fine. They're
Okay.
doing
Okay.
great.
Okay.
Don't
Sorry. I think I just like
don't
that since I've
worry.
become a mom, I'm so like panicky about,
Yeah,
yeah.
I, I worked in like pediatrics,
Okay.
so
Okay.
yeah. So like I did like office stuff and like, paperwork and stuff. But anyways, I had a lot more time then, so I try to respond to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And as my account grows or has grown, it's kind of like starting to go down now because I like plateaued. But
Mm.
regardless, I've like prioritized like questions. So it's like really important to me. I think it's more important for me to say, if I'm gonna say thank you, I try to do it in like a big blurb, like every once, like at least every like few weeks, like a hey, like thank you all for being here, something like that. Like I appreciate you, especially at the end of like the Substacks and stuff like that. Like I appreciate you reading, making it this far. But when it comes to questions, I get a lot of questions, and I feel like I need to prioritize answering them with the limited time that I have. And I've received like a few DMs that weren't like as cool, and they're like, why don't you ever say you're welcome, or like or thank you? And it's like I can't like I just don't have time to say like thank you 100 times
every single person.
But if somebody asked me like, is this the I started putting the camera model and the lens in my like thing, so people could stop asking me
what's
if it's
oh
yeah, like, is this the XT4? And I'm like, yep, same as the rest of them. But I don't want to sound like a smart aleck or anything like that, or being like rude. But yeah, I'm like, yep, that's it. And I use the archetype process film sims on all my photos. And I mainly use like the Ektar one or the Portrait 160. The problem with it is, and he knows that, the guy, I wrote my editing guide, and I was like, hey, these are like $200. If you don't want to buy them, I totally understand, because they're super expensive. And the guy from Archetype Process, he's like, yeah, they are expensive. He's like, I'm glad you said that. And I was like, oh no, like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, I didn't mean to like like
throw shade on your
no shade on it, because I think they're like definitely worth it, because the package is like huge. But I don't like to, I like feel weird about telling them, because like depending on who you are, like $200 is a lot of money. So sure. and I like to do the same thing, keep things accessible as like possible. So that's why I made like the editing guide. I'm like, hey, look, you can get like classic Chrome with a couple of extra steps to look as close as this. It might not be like a one-click thing and change a few settings, but like you can get it close if you play with the colors and stuff like that. So I find that's like really important to me to, well, I've always felt this way, and I felt this way for like a long time, is that I used to do it out of like spite, because I was like, so I would be so mad at like some like a creator if I reached out to somebody and they were big, and I'm like, hey, what did you do for this? And I just get like, they read me and then they can ignore me. And then I'm like, I'm never gonna be like that. So I used to be like hard the opposite way, but not in a like, not because I wanted to, but like, I'll show them, I'll answer every question.
I feel like I was like that too.
I like Brian Burks is a lot like me. I know we talked about Brian twice now, but Brian was a lot like me, because he's like, look at my YouTube videos, I don't have any of this stuff, and I'm gonna do this and that, and like these other creators won't do. And I was like, dude, and I'm like, maybe I should just chill out a little bit and just like be a little nicer. So it's always been nice, but you can't tell. I've It's like my own fault, but a lot of times I run my Instagram account like a business, and I think if you want to grow, that at some point you kind of have to do that. Like that's what it takes. If you want to really grow, you have to be posting at like 8 o'clock and follow these rules, and like don't rock the boat too much, and do this and that, check these boxes. The problem with that is, though, nobody knows what I'm like really like. They don't know that I'm like, it's like a wild, I'm like, super hyper, try to be funny, that doesn't come across on social media. And that's like, I don't know, I thought about doing a YouTube channel and all that, but like to like open things up. But I got one mean comment and I was out of there. I was like, nope, YouTube's not for me.
You did try? You did, like, you had YouTube for, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I got this little mic, and I've had these headphones, but I got like a 4K like webcam, like a really nice webcam. And I subscribed to this thing where you can screen record and your face is like in a little bubble that streamers use. And I was like editing photos, and my plan was just to have like go shoot photos, come back, and then look them over and just talk with them. But like, whatever.
Nice.
And I did like a handful of videos, like maybe like 3 or 4, and like I got a couple of mean comments, and I was like, nope, no, thank you. I do not like this. I am too fragile.
It's pretty brutal. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
It is.
look at this bald head, shiny
Uh
bald head. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't help it. I ain't got no hair. Like, this isn't a lifestyle choice. This is like what God gave me. I don't have it. I don't have it. I don't know. Like old bucktooth rascal editing photos ugly. I'm like, God, no, y'all are hateful. Like,
they are. And they'll go for anything. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are, what you look
yeah,
like, what you say. Like they will find something
yeah,
and there'll
yeah.
always be like a problem. So I just
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm here to tell you, I did 8 years in the Navy and like a few more as a government contractor. If they find something that you aren't comfortable with, that's it. That's your nickname. They're gonna remind you every day. There can be little notes in your pockets. Like, how does Dope get in here? And it's like, oh, bald head. And it's like the same way with YouTube comments. Like, if they
Yeah.
find out you don't like something, they're
Yeah.
just gonna dive in. You're gonna be on
Double
Reddit because
down.
of it. Oh yeah,
Yeah. Oh
yeah,
man. Yeah, I know. It's really brutal. It's really brutal. I just try and block it all out now. And I feel like my
yeah.
skin's gotten a lot thicker
That's good.
because of it. So yeah, but that is a real downside to it for sure. And I think that puts a lot of people off. A lot of people message me and say they want to start something, and that tends to
Yeah,
seem like it's the biggest barrier. But yeah, but interesting. I didn't know that that's something that you had tried, because that's like, it's a shame because I feel like a lot of people would like to see you editing, because like that's a question that you get
yeah.
a lot.
Hey, let me tell you, if somebody says something hateful to you, just ignore them.
Yeah.
There's not, nobody could ever say anything negative to you. You know, you're awesome. You're like super positive, and
Thank
like your
you.
videos are great. You know what I mean?
Thank
They got a
you.
great vibe to them. But like, that's how you can tell. Like this, if somebody's like, it's like, we're gonna shoot these photos, and it's like fun
Yeah.
music, and we're smiling in the sunshine, and they're like, "F you." And like, well, obviously
It's
he's not in a
obviously
good spot.
you. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's obviously your issue.
it's not over here with us in sunny Australia. Mm.
Ah, dear. Yeah, that's so true. But on the topic of sort of social media, like you said with your page, because yeah, like you have grown and like your reels get like huge like views and all that kind of stuff. So you've said like you kind of have to run it like a business, and I think it's the same with YouTube. Like you're lucky
Yeah,
if you kind of accidentally blow up like a grainy days sort of situation. Like I from what I understand, I don't think he really puts much thought into it, but it just sort of
mhm.
happened for him. But I think like that's sort of the exception, but generally like you do have to put a lot of like time and thought into the back end of it, and like be really planned and think about it, and yeah, run it like a business. Like I do feel like that with YouTube. And I do find that sort of kind of interesting as well, which is maybe why it's been sustainable, because I do find that
Mhm.
part of it interesting, kind of from a psychology point of view of like what people like, what interests them more, or like what they respond to. I find really interesting. But yeah, if you could talk a little bit more about how you feel about social media in terms of photography, and like, I know everybody feels kind of frustrated with Instagram. And like you said, you can't really share, or like you aren't sharing like much of your sort of personality. So yeah, like how do you feel generally about social media in the photography kind of landscape?
Well, I got a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, it's
Um,
a big topic.
so it is. Well, so I think there's like a misconception with like my page, right? Because I had like 16,000 followers. I deleted my account. I started over from scratch.
Hmm.
Then that one went to like 36,000 or something like that. Then I got hacked, and then I started over again, and then I
That's
deleted
right.
it.
Yeah.
So from like January to now, or really like with almost like a year time frame, I went from 0 followers to 100,000.
Yeah. Wow.
And but the thing is that people like gloss over when I've like talked to people like, how'd you do it? I'm like, I already had like 36. So I was like, a third of the way there already.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
and a lot of those people came over.
Hmm. Yep.
And when I started over, there was a big push for like Instagram reels. That's
Yep.
like when they were really pushing it, right?
Yep.
And I made like one or two, and I was like really anti reel. I'm like, I'm never making no reel.
Yeah.
And then I was like, let me put all my corners together
Hmm.
and like see what happens. And it got like 1 million views. And I was like, whoa, like it, like everything, like it was like crazy, like skyrocketed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then I'm like, well, might as well do a few more of these.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
A
kind of
million
milked it.
views.
Yeah. And I got like, there's like one that's got like 3.3 million views, and a couple
Wow.
that's got like 2
Mm-hmm.
million, like
Yep.
a few million views. And I think that was like, it was just like a perfect like thing. It was like
Mm.
this kind of went viral a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and they were kind of pushing it. So like the
Yep.
two met, and then like that's how like my stuff kind of blew up,
Yep.
you know? And like I find that what I found with Reels is like like the less I try, the better they do. Like
Yep.
if I really try to like line everything up and I'm like, this is gonna be awesome, and then it's like nobody cares.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then what I found worked for me with social media is I'll take photos on the weekend. I'll normally post them on Monday, and then Wednesday or Thursday or so, I'll post a reel of all the photos at zero point 0.4 seconds, and it is like I think it's 7 or 8, whatever it is. Turns out to be 6 seconds total,
Mm-hmm.
and then I find a song that kind of goes with the whatever that
Mm-hmm.
like that
Yeah.
four
Like
second tempo.
the beat. Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, and then I just post it, and that's
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
So like I don't really do anything.
Another simple Jason like hack. Like
Yeah.
you're like, I have these rules, I shoot these things, and then like, yeah, reels, you're like,
Well,
boom, here's what I do with reels.
yeah, and that and like I if you take if you this is like the secret sauce. Like I found if you have a set of photos, try not to do 10, try to do like 5 or 6. At
Mm-hmm.
the end of your topic, say which one do you like best,
Yep.
and then people will like pick this, right, and then that
Mm-hmm.
gain engagement.
Yep.
But see, the problem with all that though, and making the little reels and putting the sets is like I don't really like it, and I feel like I figured out how to best the algorithm,
Mm-hmm.
and because of that, I now feel worse in myself because I'm doing what I want. Like I've come to like I think I have a hard time talking about things, or I don't have a hard time. I'll talk about it, but I feel like it's hard to talk about like likes and follows and all this with other
Mm-hmm.
people because
Mm-hmm.
it's hard because like when you're talking about it, like from my perspective, it's like my photo got 2,000 likes. It's a bad day, and somebody else is out there like, yo, I
Mm.
would kill for like 25.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so
Yep.
it's hard to like to just express how you feel on Instagram because you're
Yeah.
if you complain from like a platform like mine, it's
Yeah.
just going to be met with like negativity. So I try not to complain too much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like I think we're all on the same boat, but then we're just like in different seats of the boat. Because
Totally.
like if you have 10,000 followers and a thousand people like that, a tenth of your following
Mm-hmm.
saw your thing, that's
Yep.
pretty good. If
Yeah.
I have 100,000, 10,000 like my photo, that's a tenth of my following.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't get that, I'm getting far less. So I'm getting less of a percent of the people that see my work
Yep.
than you
Mm-hmm.
are. So you might be doing better. And
Totally.
I've kind of given up. Like I've hid my likes that way other people don't see them
Mm-hmm.
and don't feel some kind of way about their work. Cause I
Yep.
felt like I don't want nobody to look at mine and like
Being a
think this is a good picture because it
comparison.
has 10,000 likes.
Yep.
Right. Cause like
Yep.
some of my favorite photos on here have like, you know, less than half of that.
Yep.
And I love them. So don't, it's easy for people. I don't want anybody to look at my photography and think like this guy's got 100,000 followers. He's got like 25,000 followers or 22,000 followers on Twitter. His work must be good. It's not really, it's not, it's, you know what I mean? It
Yeah,
is,
they're just like
it,
vanity metrics, and it
yeah.
becomes so much more about like there's so many other things at play, like the platform, like you said, like what
Mhm.
they're pushing at that moment. There's also with photography, I think it's really difficult because there's so many things that don't really lend themselves to Instagram, or like they don't do
Yeah.
well, like they don't translate as well. I feel like work like yours and mine, I don't mean it to sound arrogant, but like it's quite striking. Or like I shoot a lot of mostly everything in portrait orientation, which sometimes I wonder if that is because of Instagram, like subconsciously, like I don't know, but it's just how I see when I compose. And I feel like that
Yeah.
takes up more space on a feed. Whereas, you see these beautiful landscapes, but it kind of gets lost, like on Instagram sometimes. So I think like there's a lot of other things at play other than like just
how good someone's work is. And then even that is still a minefield because someone thinks something's good, someone doesn't. Do you know what I mean? It's very subjective. But I think what you're saying about kind of like a lot of people I think would think I'd love to have 100,000 followers because of, you know, then I would look like I'm successful, or so many more people are seeing my work, but that's not necessarily true. And I think you're better off really engaging the audience you have and really investing in them and building community with the people that are already there. And that's what I say to people. And I think by doing that, you then will grow organically because you've got this awesome little space where you're like actually talking to people, sharing knowledge, you know, and like, you know, the more like you're posting other people's work and, you know, you're really like getting to know the people that are there and nurturing them. And I feel like that's just way more important than, chasing these vanity metrics because they don't really mean anything. And I think we're coming around to that a little bit more where like with YouTube, a lot of YouTubers are talking about how subscribers don't really matter as much anymore because there's a lot of big YouTube like channels, but they're getting very like low views.
Yeah.
Like because it doesn't, and people like a lot of people don't even subscribe to channels anymore because YouTube does such a good job of showing you their content, whether you've subscribed to them or not. So, you know, 1 minute it's this that matters and the next minute it's this. And if you try and keep up with it, I think it's just really exhausting. And I think the more genuine and authentic you can be, whilst also remembering to kind of like engage people because it's a social platform, like making it about them as well as about you, you know? So like you say, like, which is your favorite? And then you can kind of start a little conversation or, you know, like whatever it is. I think that's my favorite part of using Instagram. That and like the DMs, like I'm always chatting with people as much as I can kind of in there. And that's how I use it. And that's just, you know, I'm happy with that. I'm like, that's all I can do, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I
think it's like I would never be talking to you right now if it wasn't for Instagram.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so I've had these like little nuggets of like friendships and things like that I've gotten from there that are far worth more than anything really. And like I like people a lot. Like a lot. I like to talk to people. I like to like see what they like. I like to, you know, kind of because everybody's so different. And I think it's like I feel like especially like when I got out of the Navy, because you could have people from like all over the country and stuff like that, and you're all stuck in a boat for 9 months or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't want to talk about the Navy a lot, but
no,
like,
that's
I
okay.
think
It's interesting.
I like that, like this whole like little honeypot of everybody that's are also different. And that's what I like about like that's like the best thing out of Instagram. Like, there's like so many people that are different and are shooting different things and doing different things and looking at things completely different. I like that. It's a great way to gain inspiration. I think like the problem is, like you said, we just get caught up in these vanity numbers. And I like Twitter a lot because you can talk, but people's opinions are so loud. And like here lately, I've been like, oh my, I can't hear anybody else's opinion because it's like some, and I swear that like this whole like the NFT, the AI photography, it's like I think whether people like it or not, I swear that people from outside of our original photography community have come into the photography community that we had, and that's kind of ruined things. You know what I'm saying? Because like it used to be like we're gonna take photos, and I have some zines or I'm selling prints or whatever. And then when you start mixing in like digital art and all these other creative works and video and stuff like that, it's like we're like all the lines are blurred. And when you go to talk on Twitter to somebody, there's like 3 other people in there that are there for totally different reasons. And it makes it hard to have a conversation about like film or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know. I feel like the pandemic changed everybody. Nobody's as nice as they used to be anymore. You know?
Yeah, I feel like people are becoming increasingly more. I said this yesterday to my mom. Just like I'd driven quite a lot over the last few days, and just everyone was just like on the road, just super like really aggressive, like right behind you, like in this really big rush. And you know, I mean, people in Australia tend to be like, it's pretty good here. It's pretty relaxed. Like the stereotype is pretty true. We're all like, oh, you know, most of the time. But I feel like people are becoming like, yeah, increasingly more like agitated, irritated, like less patience, like aggressive. Just really, everyone seems like they've got like a chip on their shoulder. I'm not sure if it's like, I think the cost of everything going up, like interest rates, like all that kind of stuff is really taking its toll on people. And it feels like more and more and more people are at like breaking point. And then they're definitely taking to platforms like Twitter to tell you about it.
Yeah. Well, it's like I don't know. It sounds real gatekeepery, so I'm sorry if it does or it comes us this way. But when like film before it got like huge, it was like it was easier to like find like 20 people that were like-minded and talk about film and stuff like that. And then I think, you know, YouTube made it big and stuff like that. And then now it's to the point where it's like completely mainstream.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like people that you wouldn't think shoot film are making 3 videos back to back, how they tried it, didn't like it, and now they're like quitting it. And it's like this like we gotta shoot film to like appease the algorithm and stuff like that. Or and like that's like changed how people are like chasing work and doing things like that versus like this is a cool medium. I want to try this old camera, kind of see what I get out of it. Might fall in love with it or might not. You know, it is what it is. But like I don't know. I feel like people are trying it for different reasons.
Yeah.
Versus like trying to get popular.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, you know, dissuaded me from like shooting as much film as sad as it sounds. You know, because I'm like, I don't know. I was like, somebody on Twitter said something. I'm like, I just want to like make stuff and put it out.
Yeah.
Like, that would be awesome. And just nothing stopping me from doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It just feels like everything's really complicated now. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know, that's life.
It is life. And I think our like that's kind of where we're going. But we've got to find our little pockets of simplicity and like you say, like I get my coffee and I drive and I take my photos and I come back and I like that's your thing, you know. You just got to protect those little like moments and exercises and things that we do that make us feel good and creatively kind of fulfilled. But I do know what you mean with film. Like I'm all for like kind of, you know, lots of people trying film. I get really excited. Like I get a lot of messages from like younger like females particularly saying like I want to buy a film camera or like you know
awesome.
all that, which is really cool. And I love to that's kind of what I wanted when I started the channel, even though I didn't grab that audience as much as I thought I would. But yeah, like I love when that happens and I love to be able to like give someone advice and steer them in a good direction to set them up for like enjoying film and having success with it rather than buying something that I'm like, don't get that because that won't be as good kind of thing. But I do agree with what you're saying in that now there's a lot of people in the community who maybe wouldn't have been there in the first place. And it's harder to, find like-minded people. I feel like that with like once upon a time, it used to be like you could, it was like easier to find your people, or if they had something like they were into film or they were into vinyl or, you know, I don't know, they had like this tote bag or this band shirt. I know these are all superficial things, but like you'd be like, oh, cool. Like if you like that, then you'll probably like X, Y, and Z. And that means we'd get along. But now I find, especially with young people, like I'm like, oh, you're dressing kind of like Courtney Love in the 90s. Maybe you like X, Y, Z, but then they have no idea who that is. And it's come from something else that's just a trend on like TikTok, but they don't know anything about where that like aesthetics come from. And I sound like I'm gatekeeping, like you have to know this, and this to do this. Maybe because we're like getting old, but like I find it kind of, like I find that kind of confusing now, and it makes it hard to connect with people as much as it used to. So I do feel what you're saying there, but I just think everything's becoming a lot more like amalgamated and kind of mixed up because we can access things so much easier now. So people are like churning and burning things like film. Like, I'll try film. Oh no, I don't like that. So whereas, you know, when we were younger, it was a bit harder. My partner's like 43. So he's like, it was so hard to like find stuff. Like he grew up in like a country kind of town. So he was like, there was no you know, like to buy, you'd have to like buy a CD or like, you know, like a record or whatever. And like, you know, now you can just type something into Spotify. Like it's just, and that's just going to continue on. So,
yeah. And with it growing, you know, and like, when you say, let's just say like every 100 people in the film community, there's like two that's like not great. You know what I'm saying? Because there's gonna be some bad apples. You know, as that 100 turns into 1,000, turns into 100,000, that just number grows. So I think that just comes along with the territory of things getting more popular. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I love Star Wars, right?
Okay.
The Star Wars community is not great. It's not very cool. It's not very cash money at all.
Okay.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's very toxic. It is extremely toxic.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, like getting into like nerdy subcultures, like all nerdy subcultures, like photography included. And I think maybe that's why I had to like, I made a separate like a Twitter account just to like look at video game stuff because I love video games.
Okay.
Like I haven't taken any photos of all of May until recently, and I just did nothing but play like video games.
Were you playing Zelda?
No.
Okay. My partner's been playing Zelda like pretty much the whole of May.
I finally found a PS5, so I have everything. I have like the Xbox Series X and the Nintendo Switch OLED and all this and the PS5. So I was like catching up with stuff. So it's on my backlog. But Final Fantasy 16 comes out in like 5 days, so I got that pre-ordered. I don't know if you know anything about Final Fantasy, but I
remember my brother playing it when I was a kid. So
nice.
yeah. I'm excited for you.
I'm super stoked. I'm 37. I am a leader in a huge healthcare organization, and they're like, "What are you taking off for?" I'm like, "Final Fantasy." Super awesome. And they like my staff is like, you're the first manager I've ever had. It's like I wear Hawaiian shirts to work. You know, I'm like taking off for like a video game.
For a video game. Like, who are you?
Like, you're a strange cat. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, this is just who I am.
Oh, dear.
But yeah, like the photography is like a lot of other like little subcultures on the internet, and sometimes it's more toxic. And it's a shame. It was like the age-old question: like, if there was no social media and there was nowhere to share your photos, would you still shoot photography? You know?
Yeah. I would, because
it's the same.
Serves me I think mostly for my mental health, because it's the only thing I know how to do really creatively. Like I've tried a lot of things and they didn't really work, or I wasn't good at them, or they didn't stick. And photography to me feels like, you know, like I feel like I can do it. So, and it, you know, I want to be creative, and it's my chosen creative outlet that seems to have like stood the test of time. So for me, that's the most important thing. Like it gives me like a purpose and a like something to work towards and work at. And I think I really need that. I think everyone needs that right now, like for, you know, like your sanity, like something outside of life and the struggles of life and all of those things for sure. So
I don't know if I would.
Some days
I don't know if I would, honestly. Some days it depends on which day. I ebb and flow. Like I've said this like a lot, and I've always said this, but I think I like video games more than I like photography. I'm definitely more knowledgeable. You know what I mean? Like that's like my true hobby, and this is like my creative hobby.
Okay.
And I think it's cool to have both. Because I get a lot out of photography. I get out of the house. It's like they're like total opposites. It's like I'm on the couch, and I'm like just lounging.
Screen time's just going way up.
Just like, you know, just like the PC gamer thing. And then the other one is like I'm outside of the house, like getting some exercise,
getting some fresh
sunlight.
air. Yeah.
So I think they're both needed.
Yeah, for sure. You need like I sometimes say to my partner, like, I just really want some phone time. Like with being a mum, it's like you're always on, and I just want to sit for like a half an hour or 45 minutes and just like scroll through my phone and like not think, like really, you know, like because I just need I need to like decompress. So whereas photography is more like you say, getting outside, getting exercise, like being creative. But I resonate with what you said about the video game thing though, because as much as I like photography, I know more and enjoy more and like more like probably music and movies and fashion.
Yeah.
Way more than photography. But to me, they go together. But like,
right.
If you get me on those topics, probably know a lot more than I would like about lenses or like, I love photography, but I feel like the peripherals are more interesting or there's more to say. Like, yeah. So I feel you on that those are probably things I enjoy more than, but photography is just my way of expressing myself because I'm not a director. I can't play an instrument. I don't sew really, so like the photography thing's like my output.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I feel like for myself personally, like when I go, it's like if you look at like what's it, Cynthia Books, Cynthia Books, whatever it is, they're like a bookstore.
Okay.
Or there's the one in like Baltimore Photos, something like that.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah.
Anyway, well, you look like if you look through their books for sale, right? It's most of the time like these people aren't even on Instagram or Twitter or anything like that, and they're making these bodies of work, and I feel like that's how I know that I have a lot of work to do to get to a level like that where I'm getting like art school peer reviews and things like that, and like I don't want to like do that. Like I forget that like photography is supposed to be fun all the time. Whether that's like me turning it into something more like a website or wanting to dabble in YouTube or anything like that. I like sometimes I forget that like I'm supposed to be having fun here. Like that's why I picked up a camera, is like to have fun. And it's like when you put work out, it's such a cacophony of like all these different like personalities and people doing it for different reasons. And then it's like you put something on Twitter and it's like, oh, you could have tweaked that a little more, or if you would adjust your highlights a little more, or if you would have got those couple of hairs off your film scan, this would look a little better. And I'm like, this isn't going in a museum, my dude. This is like, it's probably never going to leave my phone, let alone be hung anywhere.
Yeah, like, that's so true. Yeah, people take it way too seriously. Like, and then that gets
For them, it might be though. Like, you know what I mean? That might be their thing. They might be in art school right now and they're getting their like work tore up by everybody in their class, and that's like they're in this frame of mind that like we have to be getting better, and like we're doing peer reviews or like whatever it is. So like sometimes it's just nice to like step away and play Final Fantasy.
Well said, Jason. So there's one more thing that I wanted to, because we've been talking for an hour. It doesn't even feel like that. I
like to talk.
Yes,
I like
that's good. That's good.
Yeah,
so do I. So I wanted to talk about like other sources of inspiration. Like I mean, I know you said like video games is a big hobby, but is there? I know you share like music at the end of your Substacks sometimes, like live sets or like stuff that you're listening to. So is that something that you do when you go out on like your photo trips, or like something that inspires you, makes you want to create?
Yeah, absolutely. I like music a lot. I sing terribly because I can't like remember. There's like a piece of my brain missing where I can't like remember lyrics.
Oh really?
So
okay.
My wife's like, that is not it. I don't even know what you're saying.
That's not what they're saying. Yeah, my partner's like that too. Yeah.
Making my own words up. But I like everything from like at the drive-in to AZ, who's like an old rapper, like MF Doom and stuff like that. Like, so I like the older like hip hop, and I like some metal bands. I was like heavy into metal for a while. That nice, no pun intended. Heavy into metal.
Heavy into metal, yeah.
Nice. I'm keeping that in my back pocket.
You should write that down.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a good. But so I like music and I like sharing it. And then it's funny that like a couple staff meetings ago at my work, I had everybody write down their favorite song, and then I put them in like a little bucket, and then I read the song, and then we had to pick who was who.
Okay.
And I was like, I like that because I feel like you can learn a lot from somebody based on what kind of music tastes they have.
Totally.
You know? True. And so if I meet somebody and they're like, I don't know. They I like the Strokes, and I like, the White Stripes and like all that. I'm like, well, bro, you're probably like my age, you know what I
Yep.
mean? And
Yep.
you're probably a little hip, you know what I
Yep.
mean? Or if somebody says, like I like Talib Kweli and Mos Def and all this, like you're also probably a little older versus like if you like the Baby and Little Nas X and stuff like that. Like we're
Then
like
you're
we're in
yeah.
a different group.
Group.
Uh
Yeah.
versus somebody like War and like the Misfits and all that, and like these kind of
Yeah.
like random bands like that. Um, so I like knowing people's music interests so I can kind of know more about them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it
I,
speaks
I like
to people's like personality, their
yeah
yeah, and then you can kind of without like not boxing them in, but yeah, like especially time, like you say with like the Strokes and stuff, like a lot of young people don't even know who that is anymore. They don't care, and it's like they don't know like how big that was when it came out and stuff like that. So yeah, you can
right
pinpoint someone's like age, and then you can reminisce, and yeah, music tells you a lot about a person for sure.
right, and because like I think for me personally, you could tell like if I don't know trying to think of somebody, but off the top of my head. But when I was like, I went through a month of just shooting only black and white photos,
Mm-hmm.
and I used a Tri-X, Fuji X Weekly Tri-X film sim.
Yeah.
And if I shoot black and white, that's all I use. Like the JPEGs are with that, or like the mint.
Yeah, really good. Yeah.
But I'm listening to like Bon Iver, and I'm like crying
Yeah.
in my truck before I go take a picture. It's sad. These sad shadows, all these sad shadows everywhere, and
Sounds black
it's
and
like
white
cold.
mode.
Yeah, and it's like this is like affecting it, and then like next thing you know, I'm listening to like Shenandoah's 2 Dozen Roses. I'm like 2 dozen roses, and I'm like yeah, all right, now I'm in a country mode, like
yeah, having a great
driving
time.
through North Carolina. So it's like my mood's affected by it, and then like I can feel like my photos sometimes they come out feeling different because like I'm in a mood and I'm listening to like something, like the lo-fi hip hop girl, and I'm listening to like that channel on YouTube, and I'm like adding in photos, and I'm like a little more contrast. You might think it might be a little dark, or if it's summertime, I'm listening to something different because I'm in a different mood, and I'm like blaring the Deftones, and I'm like bright pastels.
Yep.
So it's like that
Yeah, I love
affects my
that.
mood.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think that's so cool. That's exactly how I feel about music and photography too. Like it's a mood, it's a vibe. And like if I'm listening to a certain album when I'm walking around, or I've just been, playing that in the car a lot. Same with movies. If I've been watching a lot of like one's director, or like we've been, going down a rabbit hole of like certain films, and then I'm kind of looking for those types of like compositions in my work, or just like getting inspired and kind of going out and using that. So that's awesome. And I love that you
We
share it at the bottom of your Substack too, because it's I liked that. When I saw you do that, I was like, "Ooh, okay." Like you're doing what you said, like where you're like, "Oh, you like this, you like this, you like this." Like
yeah, I like that little. I got away with it for a while, or away from it for a while, but I want to bring that back where I have like an outline, like a topic,
Yeah.
like a contact sheet. I was doing that, but it's like a pain to like open up Photoshop and put all the
And put
photos in there. I'm
them,
like, I don't want to do that.
yeah.
And then like an artist, like a highlight somebody,
Yeah.
music, and then like
Yep.
developing news, like any kind of
Yeah.
new news for people to put their zines and stuff out there. So that
Yeah, it
way I can give them
feels
kind of a little
a little
platform.
plug. It feels good. I really like to use like whatever platform I have to promote other people, because I know that that's another huge barrier. Like people say to me, I want to put out a zine, but I don't really have an audience. And I know that that
Right.
is something, as sad as that is, it's like it is hard. So anytime I can kind of help someone bring that to people, I like to do that too. So but your little I guess that's another rule kind of thing that you have, like a structure thing of the way you, it just makes it easier to get it done. Like what you said earlier in our
Yes.
conversation about lessening the barriers to things. Like if you make it complicated, then you won't do it. It's kind of like exercising. Like they say, like if you, like I know, like I run, and if I put out all my gear, my running gear in like the night before, then in the morning, like I'm more likely to go because it's all there. Otherwise I'll be like, oh, I can't be bothered to like, got to get my shoes out and get my, you know what I mean? So if it's all set and ready, it's like, okay, just go and do it.
Yep, absolutely. I think as I have like a little document, it's like the topics, the headlines without anything written, and then I just kind of fill them in throughout the month. And it's
Yeah.
just easier. And it would normally whatever I'm listening to at the time I put it is like the music, and I was gonna put like a Spotify. I wanted to make like a Spotify playlist because I have a 2-hour radio. It's called 2-hour radio. It's like the Spotify playlist that I made. But I'm like, I don't know. You got to keep up with it, and that's like a whole
it
hassle.
is.
So I just like
You've got to
just put
remember to
one
do
person.
it like, and you kind of want to be adding to it like periodically, not just like all at once, because you want to like actually get the vibe of what you've been listening to. Taylor Pendleton's really good with that. She's always posting her playlists, like her Spotify playlists. Hers are cool. Some of it's like not my style, but she's very committed to the playlist process. So but I love all your systems and processes around things. Like they're very practical. Do you think maybe like that's come a little bit from roles you've had at work or jobs you've had where you've had to be kind of organized or like regimented at all, or is that just who you are?
Yeah, I think it just helps me keep this kind of, I've always been like, I don't know, I'm a strange person. It's like anything. I have to I like checking boxes.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's why I like video games a lot, because I like checking boxes.
Yeah.
And then like with photography, I like to like check my boxes with certain things. And I think it because like it makes it I get like why people like people in their photos, but I don't, because it just
me too, yeah.
It just like that's like a whole thing. Like you gotta make, I don't know, it just makes me feel weird. Like it feels awkward. You know what I mean? So especially because it's not,
there's so much more to go wrong. Like and like, it's just a whole nother element that it just muddies everything, and I don't want to have to think about it really. Occasionally I'll do it. I've been doing it a little bit more, but yeah, it's very I just want things to be clean, and it's just not about that for me. Like I love people and I love talking to people, but when I'm photographing, it's just like not really about, it's not about people. Like, yeah.
Right. Well, I'm hanging out behind the back of a grocery store, so there's not a lot of people there. And then if they are, they don't want their picture taken. They're back there either like
get out of the
working
frame
or
or they're like, what's this guy doing? Yeah.
Trying to sneak a cig, and I'm out here taking this picture out back. Sorry, dude.
Yeah. I feel you on that one. Awesome. Well, this has been so good. I feel like I could just keep, we're both big talkers, so I could just keep talking to you, but I really appreciate you taking the time out to chat with me, and I feel like I've learned so much more about you. It's really awesome.
Anytime.
Nice.
Anytime. This is what I was trying to do the podcast, but I didn't have like a host. I couldn't find a host, and I'm like talking to myself, and I'm like, this is so awkward. Like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah,
and it's bad because my wife would stare at me, like she would sit over here next to my desk, and she's like, I'm like, don't sound good. And she's like, nah.
I liked your solo episodes, and I commended you for doing that, because I feel like it is hard if you don't have someone to bounce off. You know, you feel strange. It feels strange doing YouTube videos too, where you like turn a camera on and then you're like, so like, you know, and you start talking, and it's like, it always kind of still feels weird now, but but yeah, it's hard with podcasts on your own.
I feel like I can't, it's not that I can't trust anybody, but it's like I'm a doer. Like I'm gonna wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's like I got an itch to write something or do something or do whatever, and like I have to do it right now. I'm not gonna be able to sleep. I'm not gonna be able to think about anything else. And when you're like working with somebody else, or like, and especially like creatively, it's like hard to get the two or three people to line up. So I commend anybody that has like a podcast with 2 or 3 people, and you're like setting a schedule and doing all this work, because I'm sure that's hard.
It is hard. That's like a whole job, like in itself, just that part. Totally, for sure. Yeah. Where can people find you, Jason? Like, say hello, come check out your work. Where's the best place to do that?
Probably just Instagram and Twitter. My Instagram is fuji.hunter. I have a link, like a link tree in there, so you can find like some of the other stuff. Download some pictures and print them out if you want some of them, or I subscribe to my Substack, which is just 2-hour photos. I have another account for like a feature account, 2-hour photo, but I haven't posted there in like months. I'm probably not gonna revive that. I'm on
Yep.
Twitter at Jaser Hunter. JASERHUNTER is my first name and last name put together.
Okay. Yes.
That's my PSN handle too. Probably shouldn't say that
Ah.
because I'm gonna get all kinds of DMs on PlayStation. And then my Xbox, if you play on Xbox, you want to play some Halo. A little Nub, the Star Wars character.
Okay. Oh, there's so much crossover going on here. All the video game photography people are going to be like hassling you.
I know. I play with a couple people. We play Call of Duty and Destiny together. Some photographers.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think
it's cool to have like shared hobbies.
Yes, I think there's a lot of shared hobbies in photography. Like a lot of photographers tend to like good music, and some of them tend to be into like records, or yeah, like a lot of people seem to also be into video games. So it's cool that it all kind of crosses over for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I really love this. Sorry to keep interrupting you.
No,
so
no.
But I really loved this. This is pretty awesome.
Yeah, this was really, really, really cool. It's really nice to get to know someone a little bit more than just like, yeah, in the DMs. So I'll link everything below for people to check out as well, so they can come over and say hi and check out your Substack newsletter as well. Thank you so much, Jason.